Hello friends, welcome to the video lecture series on artificial intelligence and machine learning. I am Dr. Dafda, and in this 29th video class of AI/ML, we will understand the depth first search or DFS, which is a type of uninformed or blind search technique in artificial intelligence, and we will also see its implementation in Python. In the previous video class, we understood breadth first search, BFS, which is a way to solve problems by looking at all nearby options first before going deeper. While DFS goes deeper first. Starting with the name, what is the meaning of depth first search? As the name suggests, depth means going as far down a path as possible. First means it chooses the deepest option first, and search means it is trying to find a goal or a solution. So DFS is a way to find a goal by going deep before going wide. So like its name, DFS explores depth first before checking other directions. For example, we saw this figure in our 26th video class of AI/ML, namely uninformed search versus informed search. This figure shows BFS versus DFS. On the left, BFS explores all nodes level by level, making sure it doesn't miss a shorter path. On the right, DFS dives deep into one path before trying another path. Taking the same example, imagine you are looking for your classroom in a new building. Then BFS or breadth first search is you check every room on the ground floor first, then the first floor, then the second floor, and so on, going level by level. But in the same building, if you choose one hallway and walk to the very end checking every room, you check this room first, then this room, then this room, and so on, and not go towards the other rooms in the same level. So this is known as DFS or depth first search. If your classroom is not on this hallway, you come back and try another hallway. Okay, so that is depth first search. Okay, so let us start. Let us understand with the example given in the textbook how depth first search works. This is a tree diagram which shows the search process visually, and this is the table that explains the same process step by step. Our goal is very clear. We need to find the goal node M, which is here in this diagram. So what is the main idea behind DFS? The name itself gives us a big hint: depth first. This means that the algorithm always prefers to go as deep as possible down a single path. It will only turn back when it hits a dead end. Simple, right? To keep track of its path, DFS uses a data structure called stack. And we know that this stack works on the LIFO or LIFO principle, which means that last in, first out. That is, the last item you put in the stack, or you can say in this box, is the first one you will take out. Okay, let us begin. In step 0, we start at the root node, which is A. We put A in our stack or in our box. In next step 1, we pop A or we take out A from the box and keep it in the visited nodes list. And then we add the children of A, which is C and E in the box, or we push children of A, C, then B in the box. Here we have added C first and then B. We can keep in reverse order also, but remember that throughout the search we have to follow the same convention. Okay, as you can see, B is now at the top of the stack. So in step 2, we will pop B and keep it in the list of visited nodes, and we push children of B, which is E and D to the stack. So now C was already in the box and E and D has also come in the box. Again, in next step, from the top of the stack, we pop D and keep it in the visited nodes, and we push its children's I then H in the box. So children are I and H. So if you look at the tree diagram, you can see how we are moving straight down one single left path, that is from A to B, from B to D, from D to H. But H is the dead end. So now one important thing happens. At H, we have reached the leaf node. There are no more children to visit. It is a dead end. So in next step, what we do? We backtrack, which simply means we go one step back to node D. In the next step, I is popped and marked as visited node. and as I is also a dead end, we backtrack again. So when I is popped from the box or stack, E and C are remaining. When we pop E, we push its children K and then J in the stack. From E, we first go to J, which is a dead end, so we again backtrack and we come back to E. Then we go from E to K, which is another dead end. So now we have explored the entire part of the tree that was under B. This complete portion is explored. But still, we have not found our goal M. So the algorithm backtracks all the way up from K to E, from E to B, and from B all the way back to A. Now we will explore A's other child, that is C. So when we pop C, we push its children G, then F in the stack. As F is on the top of the stack, it will be popped and its children M and then L will be pushed inside the stack. So the children of F, M and then L are pushed inside the stack. Now it is the turn of L because it is on the top of the stack. So when L is popped, there are no children of L and L is a leaf node. So we again backtrack to F and explore the other children of F, that is M. So in step 12, we have found M, which is our goal node, and the search will successfully stop here. So DFS is used in situations where we want to explore deep into a tree or graph before backtracking. Say for example, you are exploring folders on a computer. So you open the first folder, which has two folders. So again you open the next folder, which again has two folders. You again open the next folder, which again has two folders. And when you open the leaf node, it is a dead end. So you go back or you backtrack and open the next folder, which again is a dead end. So you backtrack again. This is already visited. So you again backtrack and check the other children of E. So this one is a dead end. You explore K, that is also a dead end. And you go all the way back up to explore other folders of C. So now you explore other children's or other folders of C where there are two folders F and G. You explore F, which has the first folder as L, but the L is a dead end. So you go back up or you backtrack, and finally you explore M and you find your goal. So this is exactly how DFS works. Explore deeply, then backtrack when needed. I hope it is clear. This slide shows the comparison of DFS and BFS, where this blue font's text shows the advantages of BFS, whereas the red font text shows the disadvantages of BFS. In advantages, it uses less memory because it stores very few nodes at once, and it can be faster if the solution is deep in the graph. But the disadvantages are it does not always guarantee the shortest path. How? See, if this is your goal node, it will travel this path completely even if it is deep and then come to this goal node. That means it doesn't guarantee the shortest path. And second disadvantage is it may not always find a solution in the graph with infinite depth. So it can go into infinite loop. How? See, if this depth goes on and this E is your goal node, so it will never find your goal node E. It will go inside a infinite loop. Now let us see the time and space complexity of DFS. For time complexity, in DFS tree search, we may generate up to order of b raised to m nodes, where b is the branching factor and m is the maximum depth of the tree. And this can be much larger than the actual size of the state space and even infinite if the tree has no depth limit. Of course, for the graph search, it is bounded by the number of states. So as we just understood, in the worst case, it may go into infinite loop and may take infinite time, or you can say may not find the solution. But now the real advantage of DFS is in the space complexity. DFS only needs to remember a single path from the root to the leaf and only stores sibling nodes left to explore. That means once we finish exploring a branch, we may remove it from the memory. So for a branching factor b and maximum depth m, DFS requires memory or space only of the order of b into m. This is very small compared to DFS, which needs to store all the nodes at particular level. For example, at the depth of 16, DFS needs only 156 kilobytes of memory, while BFS would need around 10 exabytes, which is trillions of times more. So because of this space efficiency, DFS is used widely in artificial intelligence, like in constraint satisfaction, satisfiability, and logic programming. Okay. Finally, let us implement this same example of figure 3.16 in Python using Google Colab. Let us run the program and see the output. So this is the output. This is the same table that we understood in the theory portion. And this animation shows the search process. We can play the animation over here. And we can even download this video and observe the animation. So that is all for this video class. You can download the PPT and the Python code from the link given in the description box. Thank you very much.